Hello children, welcome to the physics class. Now this is your second presentation on electrostatics. Yesterday I gave you just a small test in which up till now I've got only 25 students who have responded. Good for the students who have responded. I don't know what happened to the others. Please wake up children, because you won't have time for revision. So make use of this time and make use of the classes which we are putting and keep on revising it. Okay, now we'll go on to the class. First, you're going to see what do you mean by superposition principle. Suppose say you have a system of charges with the charges as q1, q2, q3 up till n number of charges. Then the force that is acting due to the whole system of charges is given by a principle known as the superposition principle. According to this principle, the total force acting on a given charge is equal to the vector sum of forces exerted on it by all the other charges. Meaning is, suppose say you have charges q1, q2, q3 up till q1. Now qn. Now the force that is experienced by the first charge q1 on q2 can be calculated. Similarly, the force due to q1 on q3 can be calculated, and so on, q1 and q4 and up till q1 to q1. And then all these forces are added up. That is the meaning of superposition principle. See the first equation F12, this is the force that is experienced between the first charge Q1 and the second charge Q2. So according to Coulomb's electrostatic force, the equation is K into Q1 Q2 by R squared, where R is the distance between the first and the second charge. Now you know K is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Next, the force between the first charge and the third charge is given as F13. So it is equal to K Q1 Q3 by R squared, and the distance is between the first and the third charge. Now you can tell me the force F14. Yes, it is K Q1 Q4 by R squared, and the distance is between the fourth charge and the first charge, and so on it goes up till n. By continuing this, the total force acting on the charge due to all other charges is given as F total, which is equal to F12 vector plus F13 vector plus F14 vector, and so on. It goes to F1n vector. Here in this slide we have Michael Faraday, who gave us a clear explanation about the electric field. Every charge in the universe creates an electric field in the surrounding space, and if another charge is brought into its field, it will interact with the electric field at that point and will experience a force. Okay, this was the explanation given by Michael Faraday about an electric field force. So we'll take for example the electric field due to a point charge. Now the point charge is Q, and it is plus Q, and Q naught is the test charge. Okay, and it is placed at a point P, which is at a distance of R from the point charge. Then according to Coulomb's law, F will be equal to Q naught by R squared. Now you know K is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, so it will be equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q naught by R squared. Now we need to calculate the electric field. Electric field is nothing but the force that is experienced per unit charge. So it is going to be equal to F by Q naught. So Q naught gets cancelled, and so you get it as FQ by R squared. Now you know K is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into QR squared into R unit vector. So from this you get the definition of electric field. The electric field at the point P at a distance R from the point charge Q is the force experienced by a unit charge, and is given by E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R squared. Now you know electric field is a vector quantity, and the SI unit of electric field is Newton per Coulomb. This will come as a 2-mark question, definition of electric field. Next, we will see the important aspects of the electric field. Now, if you have an electric field, how you know that there are two types of charges, positive and negative charges. How the electric field is going to act when you have these two types of charges, and what is the effect or the important aspects of the electric field. Now suppose say if you have a charge which is positive, then the electric field points away from the source. So the source charge, if the source charge is going to be positive, then the electric field lines will move away from the source charge. If it is going to be negative, then the electric field points will point towards the source. Now if the electric field at the point P is E vector, then the force experienced by the test charge Q naught placed at the point P is F vector, which is equal to QE vector. So we know, we have already seen what is E. E is nothing but the force experienced per unit charge. So F will be equal to Q naught into E. Now this is also Coulomb's law in terms of electric field. Now if the electric field is independent of the test charge Q naught, it is independent of the test charge Q naught and it depends only on the source charge Q. So the electric field is solely dependent on the source charge Q and not on the test charge. The other aspects of electric field are, electric field, as you know, it is a vector quantity. So if it is a vector quantity, then its magnitude and direction will keep on changing according to where the electric field goes. So the electric field is a vector quantity, so at every point it has unique direction and magnitude. And if you see from the equation, F is equal to K into Q naught by R squared. That means the force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance. Therefore, as distance increases, the magnitude of the electric field decreases, and vice versa. The test charge is very small, so it will not modify the electric field of the source charge. So because test charge Q naught is going to be very small, so it will not have so much of an impact on the source charge. Now all these which we have discussed now up till now is considering a point charge. Say for example you have a charged wire or a charged sphere, that is for continuous and finite size charge distributions, integration techniques must be used. Next, we come to the concept what is known as uniform and non-uniform electric field. This is also a important question. So uniform electric field will have the same direction and constant magnitude at all points in space. So it will move in the same direction. The magnitude also will be the same. Non-uniform electric field will have different directions or different magnitudes or both at different points in space. That is example electric field created by a point charge. I have given you, I have shown it diagrammatically the representation of a uniform electric field and a non-uniform electric field. The next concept is the electric field due to a system of charges, system of point charges. Okay. Now we know, say suppose you have a point P and this is considered as a system. From the point P you have charges Q1, Q2, Q3 which are at a distance of R1P, R2P, R3P, etc. Then we can calculate the electric field due to each charge Q1, Q2 and Q3 at the point P. Now you know the equation, and according to the superposition principle, E will be equal to E1 plus E2 plus E3 up till En number of charges. So you know E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 by R squared 1P and so on it goes. So they've taken 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught as constant and they're just adding the other quantities. Now the other part can be represented as summation, and you can generalize it as the values of Q and the distance R as I to N number of charges. That is, I is equal to 1 to N. That is why it is represented as summation. The symbol is represented as summation. I is equal to 1 to N Qi by R squared IP and R unit vector IP, where I ranges from 1 to N. So this whole part, or this part of the equation, is going to be represented in terms of summation. I hope you have understood up till here, children. Now, as I told you, suppose say you have, say for a charged wire or a charged sphere. In that case, I told you, you have to use your integral calculus method to find out the total charge that is being distributed in that particular thing. Say, for example, you consider the charged object, which is an irregular object in shape, and the entire object is divided into a large number of charge elements. That symbol, it is represented as del, okay? Del q1, del q2, del q3, etc. And their distances are r1, r2, r3 from the point P. Similarly, the electric fields will be del E1, E2, E3, etc. The same concept is being put, which we saw in the previous slide. So E vector is approximately equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught del q1 by r squared and so on. So it is represented in terms of summation also. However, the above equation is only an approximation. To incorporate the continuous distribution of charge, we'll have to use the limits, okay? Limits, then you can write your equation as E vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught dq by r squared. This is for continuous charge distribution. Now in this slide, they talk about electric field due to continuous charge distribution when they are considering three types of charge distribution. That is, first one is linear charge distribution, the second one is surface charge distribution, and the third one is volume charge distribution. Now, if you just see in all the three cases, it is just a comparison. Now, first one is linear charge distribution. Suppose say you have a charged wire. Then the linear charge density is defined as the charge per unit length, whereas surface charge density is defined as a charge per unit area. Now you can guess for volume charge distribution, it will definitely be volume charge density is defined as a charge per unit volume. So linear charge distribution is represented as lambda, surface charge distribution is sigma, and volume charge distribution is rho, and they've given you the equation. That is nothing but from the definition we say the charge per unit length. So in the first case, it will be divided by L. The total charge, if it is going to be taken as Q, it will be divided by L. In the second case, it will be divided by the area A. And in the third case, it will be divided by the volume V. And similarly, you know the units for charge. It is Coulomb everywhere. Now, if it is going to be L, then per meter. If it is going to be area, per meter square. If it is going to be volume, per meter cube. Okay? And you have to substitute the electric field equation. Before that, the charge present in the infinitesimal length. So infinitesimal length is nothing but if the charge wire is of infinite length. Then the charge present is represented as dl because you're going to integrate it, okay? And it is the dq will be equal to lambda into dl. In this case, it will be dq will be equal to sigma into dA, and the last one dq is equal to rho into dV. Just substitute the equation and find out the value of the electric field. Okay, just go through the slide again. Next, we have the properties of the electric field lines. This is quite an interesting topic. Now, suppose say you want to draw the electric field lines. Okay, these points has to be remembered. Now, the first point says the electric field line starts from the positive charge and end at the negative charge or at infinity. So I repeat, the electric field line starts from a positive charge and end at a negative charge or at infinity. The second property says, for a positive point charge, the electric field lines point radially outward. For a negative point charge, the electric field lines point radially inward. See the diagram, you can clearly understand from it. Now suppose say you have an isolated positive point charge. The electric field lines start from the charge and end at infinity. See the diagram? It starts from the point charge and end at infinity. If it is going to be a negative charge, it starts from infinity and ends at the negative charge. The next one is the electric field vector at a point is in space is tangential to the electric field line at that point. So at any point, if you draw a tangent, you can find out the direction of the electric field. Now, when electric field has larger magnitude, lines are denser. The magnitude is larger, the lines are denser. Now, if it has smaller magnitude, electric lines are less dense. Okay, that is, The number of lines passing through a given surface area perpendicular to the lines is proportional to the magnitude of the electric field in that region, how close it is. It depends, the magnitude of the electric field, it depends on the source. If it is nearer to the source, the electric field, and if it is far away, what will happen to the electric field. And the next point says no two electric field lines intersect each other. It is very important. No two electric field lines will intersect each other. Similarly for your magnetic field lines also. The number of electric field lines that emanate from the positive charge or end at a negative charge is directly proportional to the magnitude of the charges. Say for example, if you have the number of electric field lines emanating from plus Q is 8, then from minus 2Q it will be equal to 16. It is double. Okay, that is twice the number of lines than that from the plus Q charge. Doesn't matter if it is going to be a positive charge or a negative charge, the magnitude alone differs. So the number of field of lines will depend upon the charge. Next, we talk about electric dipole. What do you mean by electric dipole? Say suppose you have two equal and opposite charges which are separated by a small distance. This will constitute an electric field. Okay, see the diagram. You have a positive and a negative charge which is separated by a distance d. Then P is equal to Q into 2d. Now, examples of them are water, H2O, carbon monoxide, ammonia, and HCl. Next, what do you mean by electric dipole moment? The magnitude of the electric dipole moment is equal to the product of the magnitude of one of the charges and the distance between them. That is, P is equal to 2QA. P is equal to 2Q into A. The magnitude of the electric dipole moment is equal to the product of the magnitude of one of the charges and the distance between them. Okay, now see the diagram. You have the two charges minus Q and plus Q which are separated by a distance of 2A. Then P is equal to Q, that is one of the charges, into 2A, the distance. And the SI unit is represented as Coulomb meter.